Well, we have a lawyer, Inibehe Effiong. He joins us on phone to discuss this particular event. Inibehe, glad to have you join us on TVC News R.
Thank you for having me.
Good. What was your immediate reaction the moment you heard that the Senate President has been discharged and acquitted?
It is another setback to the anti-corruption campaign of the federal government. Because we seem to see a consistent pattern in recent times where most of the high-profile corruption cases are being lost in courts. And I think at this point, even the federal government should have a rethink on their strategy in the fight against corruption. The trial of the Senate President had received enormous publicity, enormous drama, and when the tribunal now hold that the prosecution has failed to establish a prima facie case, which is really what the no-case omission sought to say. We are concerned to say that the federal government should also examine the merits of the ruling. If in the opinion of the federal government, it is not convinced that the ruling is justifiable, I think that it should be appealed. Because we cannot continue to have a situation where it looks as if everybody is complaining about corruption, and yet the judiciary is not able to find anyone guilty of corruption, possibly due to issues with prosecution or issues with the interference or any other factors. So I strongly believe that at this point, as a country, we should consider the best way to fight corruption. And for me as a person, I have nothing personal against the Senate President, but I believe that we must show a culture in this country that nobody is above the law. So the ruling has come where we have heard the ruling. I believe that the ruling will be studied to see whether it is consistent with what the law requires. Because the law is that a no-case consummation can only be upheld where the prosecution has failed to establish a prima facie case. The prosecution at this stage is not required to prove anything beyond reasonable doubt. They are only required to show a prima facie case. So was the prima facie case proved against the Senate President? The tribunal says no. I believe that the prosecution should re-examine the ruling. As I have said, if they are not convinced, let them proceed immediately to the Court of Appeal.
Okay, so from what you're saying, you don't believe that this is a case of a poor, diligent prosecution on the part of the prosecution. Am I right?
It is difficult to say until we have a full copy of the ruling. Because given the nature that this trial was publicized, given some of the things we heard that took place during the trial, some people came to a formed opinion that possibly the Senate President has one or two explanations to make on some of these cases of assets which were traced to him, which they claim he had not declared. So there was this perception in some quarters that the Senate President may have to offer one or two explanations. But since the tribunal in their wisdom, rightly or wrongly, has said that the Senate President has no case to answer, as lawyers we are bound by the judgment of the court. It is for the federal government to determine whether they are satisfied or not and proceed to appeal. And I believe that that option should not be taken lightly. If the federal government is not convinced by the reason for the ruling, they should appeal that ruling. They should appeal that ruling because everybody cannot be complaining about corruption, but nobody seems to be found to be corrupt. That is not how to run a country.
Okay.
We seem to be a consistency in the discharge and acquittal of high-profile persons who are being charged for corruption. Are we really saying that nobody is corrupt in the country? So there has to be a clear direction on what we want to achieve. Let the federal government re-strategize their fight against corruption and take the necessary action. We cannot continue to dramatize trials, continue to publicize trials. At the end of the day, it ends the way this one has ended.
All right, I'll take you up. I think that
this is another setback for the fight against corruption.
Good. I'll take you up on that. When you say that on the part of the federal government, they should do a rethink of their strategy and how they prosecute corruption cases, what particularly are you talking about? What advice do you think you can give them? What are they getting it wrong? And what should they be doing?
Firstly, I believe that even the political will to fight corruption itself is not there. What we have seen is semblance of political will. We have not really seen a clear intention on the part of the federal government to stem out the cancer of corruption from this country. And you clearly see, and even from the way some other high-profile persons who are accused of corruption within the executive have been treated. Look at the case of the SGF. You have an SGF who was suspended for alleged infraction, corrupt practices, who has not been questioned by the police or by any of the anti-corruption agencies, who is being shown to enjoy a certain level of executive immunity. And so why do you expect the legislature to now cooperate with the federal government? And you also have a situation where some judges were accused of allegedly being involved in corruption. So, already we have seen that some of those cases are being lost in court. So we cannot have a situation where only the executive is seen to be clean.
All right.
If the president is committed to the fight against corruption, let it go round. That is one. Two, I also believe that even in the strategy in the prosecution of these cases, we need to look at it. I do not question the prosecutor in this case.
All right, let's leave it at that.
I know Inibehe to be a good prosecutor.
Thank you very much for your analysis. We cannot go further than that. We thank you very much for all you've said on TVC News Hour.